President Trump may have been on holiday in Florida, but it didn't stop him from tweeting. Perhaps the only surprising thing was that the first tweet of 2018 wasn't about Hillary Clinton or fake news. Instead, it took aim at Pakistan. The United States has foolishly given Pakistan more than $33 billion in aid over the last 15 years, he wrote, and they've given us nothing but lies and deceit. Thinking of our leaders as fools. They give safe haven to the terrorists we hunt in Afghanistan with little help. No more.
Well, those comments have led to demonstrations in the city of Karachi, where the US flag was burned and anti-American slogans were shouted. For more on the outburst and the reaction that it sparked, we're joined now by Daniel Markey, author of No Exit from Pakistan. Daniel, thanks very much for joining us. Presidents Obama and Presidents Bush seem to have made the calculation that they would tolerate the Pakistani government, not act too hard with them, in order to keep them stable.
Yes.
Because of the fear of nuclear weapons falling into the hands of extremists. President Trump seems to be inching towards making a different decision.
Yeah, this looks like a much more coercive approach than anything we've seen before. I would suggest that both Presidents Bush and Obama before also had the hope that by providing incentives, the United States could gradually win Pakistan over to our way of thinking about the war in Afghanistan.
So we're looking at a period of less carrot and more stick?
Exactly.
And what would that actually look like?
Well, a greater stick is, first of all, cutting off the carrots that have already been flowing.
Right.
So we are seeing a restriction of aid across the board, likely cutting of $255 million in military assistance that was being held in a kind of an escrow account to see if Pakistan would come forward on attacking groups like the Haqqani network. And the determination apparently is that they haven't. So first, the downsizing of existing aid, and then one can imagine a series of ratcheting up of coercive moves by the United States against Pakistan, targeted sanctions or reduced support for international loans from the IMF, or even more kinetic operations across the border from Afghanistan into Pakistan. These are the kinds of ways we could ratchet up pressure on Pakistan.
But Daniel, we were saying earlier with Iran, you need to push, but you don't want to push too hard because this is a nuclear power. It's a non-NATO ally, an important one. 16,000 US troops in Afghanistan. A lot of the aid, a lot of the weapons and supplies that go through to them goes through the Khyber Pass. So they need Pakistan.
No, they absolutely do. And if you've got anything over 10,000 forces in Afghanistan, you've got to figure out a way to move them in and out. And if you look at a map, you don't have too many good options. Iran is blocked. Central Asia is difficult because of our relationship with Russia. Pakistan has been the way, especially for people and what we call lethal assistance or lethal equipment, anything from weapons to vehicles that we wouldn't want falling into the wrong hands if they go over land. So Pakistan has some leverage, and as has just been mentioned, they have nuclear weapons. This is not a small country either. There's about 200 million people in an important part of the world. And they have other friends, including the Chinese, who have been promising and delivering not just millions of dollars or tens of millions, but billions of dollars in both assistance and investment.
So, Daniel, if the White House goes ahead with the kinds of carrots that you've been talking about, incrementally
or sticks.
Or stuff, sticks that you've been talking about, drops, I'm getting confused with my New Year's metaphors.
Right.
Does that work? Does that produce a Pakistan that is more amenable to US and Western interests than the one that President Obama managed to get?
I would suggest that there's a small chance that it would work, but it's not likely. The big issue is it's one thing to put pressure on Pakistan, but Pakistan has very important interests in Afghanistan, in the region. So it has to be a combination of increased pressure on the one hand and offering some sense to Pakistan that a change in its strategy, this ending of a double game, ending of support to groups like the Haqqani network, could actually work in its favor. And right now we see little reason to expect that they would see the world that way. They're still worried that we're going to leave Afghanistan, leave the problems in place, and leave them without friends in order to help them manage that situation. So as of right now, I see little chance that this kind of incremental ratcheting up of pressure would actually pay off.
OK. Daniel Markey, thanks very much for coming in.